Hi, welcome back. In this class, we'll look into a couple of examples of how to use uh, read and write methods on the file object. Um, we'll be using a buffered I/O for this. Let us write a program to read a file and write to another file. It's a kind of a large file. We'll be working with a text file in the first example. This is a large text file. This large file is about 260,000 bytes. First, we'll declare a buffer size. I'll say buff size means I will say 25,000. 25 each time I read or write, I'll do 25,000 bytes at a time. And then let me create a variable I file or I file name equal to, I'll give the path, I'll say test files slash, and I'll say large file dot text. That is my, let me copy this one. I'm just creating two variables so that I can use when opening the files. I'll say O file name, output file name, and I'll just say add say -2. All right, and let us open the file. I'll say I file. This is the file object that will be written by the open function. Then I'll pass the file name. This time I'm just putting in a variable instead of passing the string. I'm just putting in a variable, and then this I will have to open in the read mode. And then let me copy this one. I'll say the output file. I'll say this is my object name. This is and I'll pass O file name, and this must be in the write mode. Okay, so we opened both the files now, and then we have to first let us read. We'll say buffer is like a bucket to read the data from the file. I file dot read, and pass the buffer size. We defined a buffer size as 25,000 bytes, so that is the buff size. And then we'll write a loop. This time we'll use a while loop. While length of buffer. The buffer is just it's like a container object. Is just a variable, and the length of the buffer, and colon for while loop, and say, so here we read 25,000 bytes, and we'll write it to a file. We can say I file dot, we'll call the method write method, and we'll pass the buffer where it is having the data. When we did a read operation here, the data is stored here, so that we are writing to the output file. Then we'll print something to the out console saying that so many bytes are so many bytes written to, I'm using the placeholders, or I will say dot format, and I'll say length of the buffer and the O file name. All right, here just a fancy fancy way of writing some output. Here we are saying it will say 25,000 bytes returned to the output file name and all that. And finally, this is we are in a loop. I'll read it again from the input file. I'll say ifile dot read and pass the buffer size. So that is the program. Finally, just let us print it is done. Okay, let me explain this again. Here we just defined a buffer size as 25,000, and then we created two variables, ifile name and ofile name, and we just created the string, the path of the file, the input file and the output file. And then we opened the two files, the input file in read mode and the output file in write mode. Then first we did a buffer read, and it read this. This is a method. Read is a method on the file object, input file object. So we read 25,000 bytes and stored into buffer. Then we started a loop, and while the length of the buffer is greater than 0, is something is, as long as there is something in the buffer, it will go through the loop. First we are writing, this is the first write we are doing, and then we're just printing something to the output, and finally we are doing one more read and go and looping back. So it will iterate on this loop till the number of bytes in buffer is 0. All right, and finally we're just printing print done. And if I execute this, let us see what we get. We got an error. Buffer size is not defined. Something missing. We said buff size. Say buff size. Here I said buffer size. Okay, let us execute it again. Yeah, this is fine now. This is output. This is the just output, printing after every read, after every write. See, here we are writing, right? After every write, we are writing something to the output, saying that 25,000 bytes are written to this output file. And then after everything is done, after all the data is read from the input file, then it completes and comes out of the loop. Let us see let us see the file on the Unix box. We'll say the bang ls-l test files. So here is the file created, the large file -2. This is created. This was our input file, the 260,000 bytes. It just copied exactly 260,000 bytes. So that is how to use buffered read and write methods on file objects when you are dealing with large size files. Next, let us see a binary file. Here is a Switzerland .jpeg file. This is an image file. Let me show the actual the image. Yeah, here is the image file. The one we'll be working with. We'll copy this file to another file. Here, this is the file, Switzerland.jpg. We'll read this file and write to another file. This is a large file. It's a 757,000 bytes. It's a close to 1 meg file. We can use the same program. We can use the same one. Say Control C. If you want, we can increase the buffer size. Maybe let us increase the buffer size to 50,000. 50,000. And let us change the file names. Let us copy, and here copy, and here these are JPEG file, JPEG, and here this JPG, and here when we open the file, where because these are binary files, image files are binary files, we must use RB and WB, read binary and write binary, and that's it. Let us execute this one. Let's say yes, we wrote the file, and every time it's printing out something to the console, and so this is the output. Let us find the file. I'll say bang ls-l test files. If I execute that, see, we got Switzerland-2. That is our output file name, right? It is exactly the same size as this one, 757 and 42. Let us see the image of this one. I'll show it. That is the file. We got the exact same picture. This is a Switzerland -2. Okay, that is how to read and write a binary file. Here we are reading a large, almost close to a 1 meg file, and we are writing to another file by using buffer read and write. Okay, we'll stop here, and in the next class we'll see some more methods on file object. Okay, thanks.